Hello and very warm welcome to the Amish Shackle 5858. I am Amish Shackle. Following are the news headlines which have been reported by American, European, Canadian, Asian, African, and European news channels. So please let's go to the headlines.
Tonight, flash flooding slams the Midwest as 45 million face dangerous heat and severe weather. A critical test for President Trump this week as he attempts to serve as peacemaker-in-chief with regard to the unrest in both Gaza and Ukraine. And new details about the suspect in that deadly attack in Atlanta. But we begin with destructive and dangerous flooding in the Midwest. A state of emergency declared in Milwaukee County after historic rainfall triggered flash flooding. Dozens of water rescues, power outages, and massive flooding on the runways at Milwaukee's airport. The final day of the beloved state fair canceled, and more severe weather is on the way. Extreme heat is still impacting the West as hot temperatures return to the Northeast and Midwest this week. Our weather team is standing by with the forecast. Chilling new details about the suspect in the deadly Atlanta attack. Sources say he blamed the COVID-19 vaccine for making him depressed and suicidal. But did he deliberately target the CDC? What we're learning tonight. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is defiant despite international condemnation over his controversial plan to seize Gaza City. Netanyahu says Israel had no choice but to finish the job and defeat Hamas. European leaders scramble ahead of that high-stakes summit in Alaska. Allies insist Ukraine's President Zelensky must attend the meeting. All eyes on President Trump as Zelensky calls for more sanctions against Russia. With the start of the NFL season just weeks away, the new recommendation by the league to boost and enhance security across the country, a move they say will protect players, staff, and visitors. Overseas, firefighters are battling fast-moving wildfires in Europe. Triple-digit temperatures and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts are deadly flames. The new proposal by the FAA, why some are applauding their latest move at Newark Liberty International Airport that could last until next year, what it could mean for flyers. A close call at Atlanta's airport. Two Delta planes clip wings, what we're learning tonight. And going long, what Cam Little said about this booming 70-yard kick and why it will not count as the longest ever in NFL.
World News Tonight.
Good evening, everyone.
Discuss is Brian Kilmeade, host of One Nation and co-host of Fox and Friends. Okay, Brian, we're going to start with the Caitlin Clark stuff, and then if we can, we'll get to that unseemly other stuff, okay? the Caitlin Clark issue, I mean, they're talking about civil rights violations. I kind of like what Stephen A. Smith said there. I don't know about civil rights violations, but is there something the league can do to stop his behavior toward Clark?
He's almost zero. Almost. This was the guys, and they were beating up LeBron. Adam Silver would have spoken out already. I don't know what's happening, but I've never seen such resentment. It reminds me, for example, nobody cared about it. He's still here. Next thing, people at Giant Stadium. No one tried to kill Pele. Yeah, they played him harder, but they said thank you. Even opponents, my goodness, everybody's salary jacked up. David Beckham comes to the MLS. They had the bigger crowd at his press conference than they had most MLS games. There was my goodness, this 32-year-old superstar brought all his stardom to this league. There were some people who wanted to look good against him, but they didn't resent him. But here's this woman who comes into this league as a legitimate rookie. She is up viewership up the highest in 20 years. So the ratings are up highest, 200% they're up. Attendance is up 14% year to year. It's even over last year's records. And now all of a sudden, people get this. This team value.
Okay, well, Brian will get into 13 tests of
his whole piece.
I know, and the thing is, I had to sit through a Gutfeld segment, and we were, talking about all the jokes, the sex toys. Now, Lisa, we'll take you have a question, but I think
only joke and Gutfeld.
I know. Okay. Didn't do thing for young girls, cute girls in high school going to school with coke. You agree with me? I agree that this is about humiliating these women, and I think it's terrible. And if somebody gets caught bringing one of these things, I think that is just as bad as like someone who's doing indecent exposure. What do you think?
Well, I'm gonna shift gears because I be laughed, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, sorry, I don't want to get... Okay, so I'm going to talk about Caitlin Clark then, because I don't want to get myself in trouble. Okay, so she also brings you talked about the ratings, but there's financial value in that. And economists estimate that she has been able to bring, alone, generate an estimated $875 million to $1 billion in economic value to the league. So, like, would anyone even care about the WNBA if not for Caitlin Clark?
By the way, the best in the world. They don't go to CYOs. They don't put in the blue collar work to rise a league, to bring a league up. I mean, even the NFL had to do that. You go to Sandlot games, you make appearances, you let the community get to know you. I mean, the WNBA store, since not just her jersey, sales are up 400% of WNBA jerseys just because of her presence. But her presence.
On this Sunday night, where there's smoke, there's fire. Canada faces to fight flames because he
Anybody can be
Benjamin Netanyahu defends his plan to take over Gaza. Plus, 35 BC review this decision to purchase the American fighter jets. And pop star and queer icon Chapel Rowe, her new song driving a flurry of interest to Saskatchewan.
Global National reporting tonight.
Thank you for joining us. We begin once again in Newfoundland, where firefighters are battling dangerous and challenging wildfire conditions. High winds and hot, dry weather are fueling 3 major fires across the island. 2 of them are on the Avalon Peninsula, including the Kingston fire, which has prompted a regional state of emergency and multiple evacuation orders. It has quickly grown to over 5,000 hectares and threatens more communities.
Fire projections show that the growth may reach Ocraquet Cove this evening. And we do unfortunately have confirmed reports as we are doing work out in that area that there has been additional structures impacted yesterday and throughout the day in Adams Cove area, Kingston and Western Bay, which is of course very difficult news to share, especially for the individuals whose homes and structures were impacted. Unfortunately, I'm one of the people that lost their homes. So yeah, I'm a little numb, a little shooken up, gobsmacked. Our community is devastated. It's ravished. I've seen pictures. It's heartbreaking.
4 water bombers are working to contain the Kingston fire on its northern perimeter. Ground crews are working at it from the south. 2 water bombers from Quebec have also arrived, but 2 others were canceled because of maintenance issues, and 2 more from Ontario are delayed as that province deals with its own wildfires.
Right now, we need a break in the weather. The weather is the determining factor in this. I mean, the resources that we have here, we can't really ask for much more. I mean, there's lots of resources to actually fight the fire. It's so intense. It's being fanned by the wind. The temperatures are so high. It's the conditions, the worst conditions you can have for forest fire, for wildfire.
The fire danger across much of the country is serious. High temperatures and dry conditions are raising risk levels in parts of every province. The majority of out-of-control wildfires are raging across the northern prairies, but there are intense hotspots on the west coast and across Atlantic Canada. There are now 2 fires burning out of control in New Brunswick.
Tonight on PBS News Weekend, amid mounting criticism at home and abroad, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu defends plans to occupy Gaza City as the fastest way to end the war. Then the challenges facing new college graduates as they struggle with the toughest job market in a decade. And a charter school in Florida that weaves caring for farm animals into its curriculum, changing young lives.
We need to create students who are feeling confident to be outside, getting their hands dirty, being hands-on. And middle school kids are at an age where I feel like they're not given a lot of trust. So when you give them that trust, they just shine.
And the latest on illegal immigration, the government is
announced more foreign criminals will be deported before they are allowed to appeal.
Criminals from 23 countries will no longer be able to delay their deportation by appealing against the decision to remove them.
The Home Office claims it'll stop 3,000 offenders working the system, clogging up prisons and dragging out appeals.
However, as the former Justice Secretary Alex Chalk has Good morning. The government announces more foreign criminals will be deported before any appeal.
From 23 countries, they'll no longer be able to delay their deportation by appealing against the decision to remove them.
While the Home Office claims it will stop 3,000 offenders from gaming the system, clogging up our prisons and dragging out their appeals.
However, as the former Justice Secretary Alex Chalk has slammed the move, he's warned rapists and violent criminals could walk free on taxpayer-funded flights.
Meanwhile, more than 1,100 small boat migrants have crossed the English Channel illegally since the new UK-France returns deal came into operation. The GB News provisional figures showing 281 people arrived on 5 small boats yesterday.
Keir Starmer's Chagos Islands deal is going to cost 10 times more than he said it would. £35 billion, and you've been having your say on this one this morning. People just cannot believe this, or in many cases you can believe it for dubious reasons.
JD Vance has declared that President Trump will force Vladimir Putin and Volodymyr Zelensky into direct talks to end the war, but dismisses calls by European leaders for the Ukrainian president to join the upcoming Alaska summit.
And as it emerges that MPs rake in 830,000 quid a year in rent, which isn't a lot, let's face it, we're asking, is it appropriate for them to be landlords? Yes, I'd say they should be able to do whatever they want. Part-time's none of our business, but there we go. In sport, what's happening?
Well, I shall tell you. Crystal Palace won the Community Shield by beating Liverpool on penalties, but they do await another big result later on today. Also, Sheffield Wednesday protested, well, the fans did anyway. Leicester over their dodgy ownership at Sheffield Wednesday's, not Leicester's. And in golf, veteran Justin Rose has won his first PGA title in 2 years.
Hello there. The 4th summer heatwave officially beginning across parts of the UK. Find out all the weather details coming up soon.
Hello there, 2 minutes past the hour of 7 o'clock on this Monday morning. Thank you for starting your day. Thank you for starting your week with us. I'm Eamon Hall.
A very good morning to you. At 6 o'clock on today's show, Al Jazeera accused Israel of a blatant and premeditated attack on press freedom after it kills 5 journalists in Gaza.
Thus, the government here extends its policy of deport first, appeal later for foreign criminals.
It's Monday, 11th of August. Your headlines. 5 Al Jazeera journalists are killed by an Israeli strike in Gaza. 26,000 prisoners freed early because of overcrowded jails. We'll speak to the government just after 7. We report on how Police Scotland foiled a terror attack on a mosque by a teenager inspired by Hitler. Get ready for another heatwave. More record-breaking temperatures could be on the way. And in sport, FA Cup holders Crystal Palace beat Premier League champions Liverpool to win the Community Shield. A very good morning to you. Al Jazeera has accused Israel of a blatant and premeditated...
Getting in your dad.
I'm really enjoying this one, yeah.
Boston, Sundays at 7:30, ABC and ABC iView. Today, Benjamin Netanyahu defends Israel's expanded operations in Gaza and takes aim at Australia for considering the recognition of Palestine as a state.
If they're right next to Melbourne, right next to Sydney, you had this horrific attacks. I think it will do it, at least what we're doing.
While the Committee to Protect Journalists condemns the death of Al Jazeera reporters and camera crew in Israeli airstrikes in Gaza. Also ahead, family daycare homes under the microscope as more damning revelations about the sector come to light. And a meteor lights up the night sky in Victoria. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Catherine Robinson. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has branded Australia and other countries shameful for considering recognition of a Palestinian state. Mr. Netanyahu made the comment during a rare media conference for the foreign press in Israel, largely to defend his government's moves to occupy more of Gaza. There's been widespread criticism of that plan within Israel and internationally, amid fears it will put the lives of the remaining Israeli hostages at risk. Middle East correspondent Matthew Doran reports from Jerusalem.
Benjamin Netanyahu rarely fronts the media, and that's why his two press conferences on Sunday, one to the foreign press, the other to local media, are significant, not least because it comes just days after Israel's security cabinet signed off on his plan to take control of Gaza City by...
Al-Pacman. Le Paris des Arts élections spéciales en Guadeloupe à ne surtout pas manquer sur France 24.
Coming out of various break. Al Jazeera says 5 of its journalists were killed in an Israeli strike on its media tent at Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza, including the prominent reporter Anas al-Sharif. Israel claims that 28-year-old Sharif was a Hamas cell leader reporter. An assertion has been rejected by the Committee to Protect Journalists. We'll be speaking to Noga Tarnopolsky in Jerusalem. European foreign ministers are to meet today along with Ukrainian President Zelensky to coordinate a response ahead of talks with Vladimir Putin in Alaska. European governments say Ukraine must not be sidelined in the meeting between the US and Russian presidents, and that no loss of its territory will be considered. More wildfires in southern Europe at the weekend, with Mount Vesuvius closed to tourists after a blaze breaks out on its slopes. Meanwhile, more than 1,000 people were evacuated in northwest Spain as wildfires spread close to UNESCO worship site Las Vedas. This is DW News, and these are top stories. Benjamin Netanyahu has rejected criticism of his plan to seize control of Gaza City. He said Israel has no choice but to finish the job and completely defeat Hamas. He spoke ahead of an emergency session of the United Nations Security Council on Gaza. A Russian airstrike on Zaporizhzhia in Ukraine's southeast has injured at least 8,000 people and demolished several buildings. Ukraine's Foreign Affairs says Russia attacked with guided aerial bombs, hitting residential areas, a bus station, and a clinic. Exiled Belarusians have marched through the Polish Interior Alexander Lukashenko placed him as presidential candidate in 2020. Activists say Belarus still holds more than 1,000 political prisoners. This is DW News from Berlin, and remember you can find more news on our website, that's dw.com.
This is Asia Now.
It's 12 p.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 9:30 in New Delhi, and 11 o'clock in Jakarta. I'm Rani Samtani. At this hour, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he's not looking to occupy Gaza, but to free it from Hamas. The leader defending plans to take over Gaza City, which he says will begin soon. Japan raises its rain emergency warning in Kumamoto Prefecture to the highest level. Record downpours are lashing the region, triggering floods and landslides. And South Korea and Vietnam vowed to expand cooperation in several areas, including trade, energy, and tech, as leaders hold a summit in Seoul. To Lam is the first foreign leader to visit since President Lee Jae-myung took office in June.
months in prison and a 1 billion CFA franc fine. This is the hefty sentence Chadian opposition politician and former Prime Minister Succès Masra was handed on Saturday. The politician is accused of having disseminated hateful and xenophobic messages, as well as being complicit of murder in relation to a massacre in Mandakau that reportedly stemmed from inter-conflict. The verdict announced humiliation for their client, and that the case was based on empty files. Observers had also denounced political relations for the accusations in the lead-up to Masra's trial. Another 74 people also appeared in trials related to the Mandakau massacre, in which they were accused of participating. 64 of them reportedly also received 20-year prison sentences.
A remarkable climate change awareness journey has come to an end as the herds, a group of life-sized puppet animals, reached the Arctic Circle this week, marking the end of a 20,000-kilometer trek from Kinshasa in the Gorin forest. The animals, made from recycled metal and cardboard, were animated by over 1,000 trained puppeteers who made the project away. Their symbolic migration north drives a global flight from climate disaster growing with each step as local animals join the herd across 11 countries and 56 public events. The final stretch saw the majestic puppet scale Norway's Glacier, mainland Europe's largest, before arriving at North Cap in the Arctic Circle for a sunrise on August 1. Organized by The Walk, the team behind the renowned Lido Amal project, the herd used arts to spotlight the urgency of climate action, uniting communities across Africa and Europe in a creative call for environmental justice.
80 years since the catastrophe, Japan commemorated the US atomic bomb attack on the city of Nagasaki during World War II on Saturday. The bomb killed 70,000 people and led to many others, called hibakusha, suffering from lifelong consequences. At the moment of the explosion, it felt as though my entire body was briefly engulfed in a sea of light, mixed with shades of orange and yellow. Immediately after, a tremendous blast shattered the window glass, and I dove into a corner of the room, covering my head. My classmates then collapsed on top of me, and under the weight of their bodies, I was in such a state that I couldn't even breathe. During a ceremony, officials and survivors spoke about nuclear threats and the importance of non-proliferation treaties. 80 years on, the international community is facing deepening divisions over nuclear disarmament and is confronted with an extremely severe security environment. However, no matter how difficult the situation may be, as the only country to have suffered atomic bombings in war, it is Japan's mission to firmly uphold the three non-nuclear principles and to lead international efforts toward the realization of a world without nuclear war and a world without nuclear weapons. No more Hiroshimas, no more Nagasakis, no more war, no more hibakusha. This cry from deep within his heart is the crystallization of the hibakusha's feelings. With the number of survivors recalling the bombings dwindling year by year, the event was also a way to transmit the memory of the attack to the younger generation. Release the hostages and end the war. These were the demands protesters in the streets of Tel Aviv on Saturday had for the Israeli government.
We didn't agree with all the decisions that our government is doing, and secondly, we blame our government for all the disasters that occurred in October 23.
On Friday, the Israeli government announced a plan to fully take over Gaza City,
a move that has been condemned by the international community. The decision, reportedly agreed in a late-night meeting of its security cabinet, marks a further escalation of Israel's 22-month war with Hamas. Israel's war has drawn criticism for its indiscriminate bombings and blocking humanitarian aid to the civilian population.
Tonight, violent storms hit the Midwest.
Oh my God.
Torrential rain drenching parts of 6 states, Wisconsin swamped.
I'm Megan DeMar in Milwaukee, where rising waters led to overnight rescues, power outages, and people at the fair to flee.
And I'm meteorologist Andrew Kozak. Tonight, a new flood threat for areas already saturated by water. I'll have your national forecast.
Also tonight, wildfire danger.
I'm Otter Skiers in Castaic, California. Fire crews here make significant progress against the flames, but face new challenges elsewhere.
New fallout after the CDC shooting.
I'm Skyler Henry in Atlanta, where the public health community is both rattled and reacting after a gunman who believed the COVID vaccine made him sick opened fire.
In Israel, protesters intensified pressure against Benjamin Netanyahu's plan to expand the war in Gaza.
Israel has no choice but to finish the job and complete the defeat of Hamas.
I'm Deborah Patter in East Jerusalem, where amid growing condemnation, President Netanyahu has defended his new war plan.
While Ukraine and its European allies present a united front before this week's Trump-Putin summit. And later, a recipe for success from the wheat field to the dinner table. Yes, Tai Han in San Francisco takes us to a bakery with a passion for bread.
No, I'm just kidding.